Now, quick question. Who is looking forward to being economically stimulated this week? Everybody, that's great, because it's been a long time since we've been stimulated economically, hasn't it? I mean, I was sure the RBA has been lowering its deeming rate provocatively, bit by bit, over the last 12 months, but that doesn't really do it for us anymore, does it? We don't want to borrow cheap money, we want to be given free money. Now, of course, the last time that this happened was way back in the good old days of the global financial crisis. And thanks to what's-his-name and Thingamabob, we all got to buy flat-screen TVs. Now, this time round, though, we're not getting flat-screen TVs. In fact, if we're in isolation from the coronavirus, we're being advised to not rely too heavily on television. And I assume that's because Married at First Sight is still running. Now, this time we're actually getting tax incentives and tax deductions, so that if we spend what little money we do have, we may get some of it back later on. In other words, if we look after the economy, we'll be looked after, much in the same way that if we look after an elderly dying relative, we might be remembered in their will. Even though Uncle Scott and Auntie Josh are the executors and we don't really trust that side of the family. But the coronavirus pandemic is a bit different from the global financial meltdown in that not only are our living standards affected, but also our actual ability to live. And I think it's that requires a little bit of straight talk and plain speaking. Now, I know we make lots of so-called jokes about our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. But I do like the advice he's been giving us lately about the coronavirus crisis, or the coronavirus. Particularly what we should do for those who've self-quarantined.
So, you know, make them a curry and take it around if they need one.
Yes. If someone's in isolation because of a highly infectious disease, do go around to their house. Now, of course, you can't do that in China because the government wills your door shut. But this is Australia, where we can yell cooey and just walk in whether you want us to or not. I don't know whether a curry is the best thing to give someone when there's no toilet paper available, but it's the thought that counts. So thank you, Scott, and to a lesser extent, Michael, for your excellent leadership. In America, of course, there is no leadership on the coronavirus. Why? Because Donald Trump has put Mike Pence in charge. Although it must be said that despite that, Donald Trump's message about the coronavirus has managed to cut through.
We have done an incredible job. We're going to continue. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear. And from our shows, you know, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. Nobody really knows. We have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that get better just by, you know, sitting around or even going to work. Some of them go to work. I like this stuff. I really get it. People are surprised that I understand it. Every one of these doctors said, "How do you know so much about this?" But maybe I have a natural ability. Maybe I should have done that instead of running for president. Yeah. Yes. And few would disagree, but despite that, I've got to say I'm glad we have Scott Morrison as our Prime Minister. Who's with me? Excuse me. Hello? Oh, yes. OK, bye. Apparently I'm being biased in favour of the government again, so I have to put this picture up for ballots. OK. Sorry, it's ABC policy. I'll do the line again. Yeah. I'm glad we have Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, who's with me. See, it doesn't work as well. Still to come, if we can sustain the panic buying of toilet paper, will this avoid a recession? And
competitive couples have battled it out in the annual British Wife-Carrying Championships.
Yes, polygamous Bert Squalor finished last. We won't be talking to him because the joke's over. The big story this week, though, is Bridget McKenzie blowing the lid off the pork barrel with her revelation that she wasn't behind those last-minute changes made under the controversial sports grants program. Major Domo of the PMO, Jo Mellibert, joins us now.
Well, I reject the premise of your question, Shaun.
I haven't even asked it yet.
Shaun, Australians aren't interested in answers to questions. What they're interested in is the government getting on with the job of running this country, and that's what they're doing, and that's what they'll continue to do.
Well, what about if the questions are about the job of running running the country.
The quiet Australians don't care about the questions either, Shaun. They just don't. And we know they're not interested in questions because we ask them. And what they're telling us, what they're saying to us that they are interested in, we can't hear because they're so quiet.
No, wait a minute. One more question. Can I just ask you a question about Bridget McKenzie saying that she had nothing to do with the backdated changes, despite the PM saying they have nothing to do with him because all the decisions were hers?
Well, you can try, but I'm just going to weasel out of answering it by pretending you were asking me something else.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jay Mellor. And for coming in, I have a special prize for you, courtesy of Mad as Hell. Would you please... Oh, that's not it. Hang on. This roll of toilet paper.
Ooh.
Thank you. So, if not Bridget McKenzie and if not anyone in the Prime Minister's office, including the Prime Minister, who made these last-minute changes, approving 9 more projects worth $3.3 million, 3 hours after Sports Australia received the Sports Minister's authorisation. Well, perhaps it wasn't anybody, just as nobody was responsible for allegedly forging that document that Angus Taylor was fooled by. It's a couple of questions I may well put to you, Norse god of mischief, Loki.
You got me, Shaun. Yep, it was me all along.
Okay.
I saw Bridget working in her office 15 minutes after the government was in caretaker mode, pressing send on her final email to Sports Australia, and mythological prankster that I am, I magicked in another 9 projects as soon as she left to catch a plane to one of her homes.
You magicked them in?
I did. As easily as I might magic that banana onto the desk before you. Or make a hat appear on your head, amazed.
Well, it's pretty obviously a camera trick.
No. It is magic. Behold.
You didn't even properly edit out the person coming in and taking it.
Size of an elephant.
You didn't even stop the camera that time. You just... What you're doing is just transparently obvious, poorly executed bullshit.
Is it?
Well, no one is buying it for a moment.
And yet, no one knows how the 9 additional projects got funded, or how the allegedly forged document used to smear the Lord Mayor Clover Moore came into the hands of Angus Taylor, or how the police investigations just disappeared.
Or didn't Morrison just speak to the New South Wales Police Commissioner?
Did he?
Another thing Senate estimates threw up last week was Scott Cam. Fans of the Gold Logie winner... Yeah, I know, Gold Logie. 25 years I've been in this business, and just because he can hammer a fucking nail into a piece of wood... Anyway, no. Oh, sorry. Anyway, fans would remember that Scott Cam was appointed by the government as National Careers Ambassador, or Scott Cambassador. In the 5 months since his appointment, though, Mr Cam has been paid $145,000 in return for which he's appeared in 3 short social media videos and made 4 social media posts. A gruelling schedule in anyone's language but ours. Scott was appointed by the Minister for Skills, Micallef, who really knows a thing or two about getting a message out there on social media. Here she is doing a Zoot review about an up-and-coming jobs fair.
Hi, my name is Micallef. I'm the Minister for Employment, Skills, Small and Family Business. I'm here today with my very good friend and the member for Peachtree, Luke Howarth. And Luke, today we're talking about the jobs fair that's coming to your electorate or an electorate near you on the 20th of February. Let's talk more about it.
Absolutely, Micallef.
Brilliant. And I'm sure Scott Cam would have no trouble hitting that level of professional enthusiasm if you injected him with some Dexedrine. Anyhow, we're joined now by Micallef's speech therapist and human splash guard, Mary Brett Punish. Mary Brett, Scott Cam has another 13 months to run on his contract. Are you confident he can keep up the pace he's set so far?
Shaun, you are completely underestimating the enormous influence this TV megastar has. He is a household name. You, Shaun, wouldn't be a household name if you changed it to Ajax. Scott Cam hosts the very popular The Block, a show in which contestants renovate and sell property.
Yes. And I understand the next series they'll be selling the ABC's head offices.
Oh, and we will all be binge-watching that.
As Careers Ambassador, does he get an embassy that Julian Assange can claim exile in?
What's Scott Cam gets, Shaun, is $350,000 for the 18-month contract. And what a fantastic message this sends to all those apprentices and young people considering a trade. That this is where a trade can lead you, to the point where you are paid $250,000 for diddly squat.
Thank you, Mary Brett. Well, still to come, probably when hell freezes over, the answers to all these questions. But right now, with the latest on what our floundering economy is like, here's Tosh Greenslade in a wig and glasses.
That's exactly right, Shaun. The Reserve Bank is limited in the ways it can influence the economy. It's a bit like Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot, only able to move his left foot, just as the Reserve Bank is only able to move its interest rate. It means it needs help from the government to do other things. So they move the interest rate /foot up, and in this case down, trying to attract attention. Unfortunately, though, our government is more like Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood, obsessed with hoarding wealth at the expense of their humanity, meaning he is unlikely to buy himself the wheelchair he needs in the other film, even though there's $1.6 billion unclaimed from the NDIS fund. Of course, if it was up to Labor, the economy would be like Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread, kept weak by poisoning so they could care for it on its deathbed, which, at a growth rate of 0.5% in the last quarter, isn't far off. But I think most Australians would agree the whole economic system is most like Daniel Day-Lewis since he retired from acting in 2017. No longer working. Shaun.
Thank you. Tosh Greenslade. Tosh Greenslade there in a wig and glasses, using some of the movies in Daniel Day-Lewis's career to make the normally dry subject matter of our economy slightly less tedious. Thanks very much, Tosh. Oh, he's gone. What the coronavirus and the bushfires have done, though... What the coronavirus and the bushfires have done, however, is put not only a dent in our economy, but also caused severe front-end damage. In fact, it may well be written off and we'll have to buy a new one. But the government are working on it, having committed $76 million of its $2 billion bushfire recovery fund on tourism and half of the $1 billion fund to deal with the coronavirus so tourists don't get infected when they come here. It's all part of a new campaign, isn't it, Tamara Happenstance from Tourism Australia?
Sure is, Shaun. Where the bloody hell's your shrimp on the barbie, you bastards? Yeah, no, but seriously, we want people from the world over to know they are all welcome here.
Except the Chinese, Iranian and South Koreans.
Except them, yes. And not too keen on the Italians either. But, no, everyone else can get your ass over here and tuck into a bloody shrimp, you dickheads.
Although don't come over on a Diamond Princess cruise.
God, no.
And also, you don't want too many people gathering in large groups once they get here, do you, because of the virus?
Absolutely not. No, come on over, by all means, but enjoy yourselves individually. Yeah. Whether it's wandering around in gloves and a mask, buying expensive souvenirs, or isolating yourself in a hotel room and ordering lots of room service.
Okay. Ideally, though, these people should be visiting areas still recovering from bushfire, shouldn't they?
Yeah, and that's a tough sell. Thanks, Celeste Barber. Yeah. But, no, once they get here, we don't want them touching anything, and there's not much to see or do, so our message just is stay in your hotel room and look at photos of Australia online. And for God's sake, wash your hands.
Ideally, you want holidaymakers from overseas to send us their money but not actually come here.
Ideally, yes.
And what about our educational tourism?
Again, people from overseas paying for a degree from our many universities without having to attend lectures and actually learn anything would be the perfect arrangement.
So, business as usual then. Well, thanks very much, Tamara. And Tourism Australia has a special offer for this week for any foreigners watching, don't they?
Yes, Shaun. 2 fabulous weeks on Christmas Island. Accommodation and food not included.
Well, sounds fantastic. Thank you very much, Tamara.
Dormant Bread is a research scientist. Tory Stronghold is a research scientist. Joan Beelzebub is a research scientist. Owen Horror, Goose Temperature and Semolina Gusset are also research scientists. But only one can become the 2020 Antarctican of the Year, Sunday, 7:40.
Welcome back. Well, the government have been emphasising, as you can see, the importance of personal hygiene. They've also been offering sage advice, with New South Wales Health Minister Brad Hazzard warning people against handshakes. Mind you, That is something some of us have already started doing some time ago, so good on us. But the government is now talking about banning people from gathering in large groups, such as itself. Could we though, see the AFL and the NRL matches played in empty stadiums? It'd be a very strange experience for the players, although obviously a little less strange for those who play Sheffield Shield cricket. Incidentally, there's one symptom of the coronavirus that I wasn't aware of until this 9 News report.
Any further closures of the borders, though, would have a huge impact on businesses that have already seen customers from overseas evaporate overnight.
That is nasty. Still to come, though, concerning revelations about our preparations for the coming pandemic.
The federal government is making sure we have enough medical supplies, and 7 News has been given exclusive access to its massive warehouses.
Unbelievable. You would think they'd let the ABC in there to grab a couple of things as well, but you know, you see what happens. This happens when you constantly give the government a hard time. So, thanks a lot, Lee Sales. Right now, though, here's Stephen with the traffic. Thank you, Stephen. Well, ASIO head, which is a dreadful thing to call somebody. Mike Burgess this week declared that there are more foreign spies in Australia today than there were during the height of the Cold War. So the question for Peter Dutton is... David Spears.
Are they mostly from China?
Well, they're not just from China, but they're from Iran, from Russia.
Are they mostly from China?
And from elsewhere. Well, I'll let the ASIO boss provide more detail if he wants.
Are most of these foreign spies from China?
Well, David, I'm giving you this answer. That is, I don't care where people come from.
Department of Home Affairs spokesyopath Brian Pegmatide. There seems to be a certain reluctance on the part of Mr Dutton to nominate the country in question. Can you confirm who Australia's major trading partner is?
I'll let the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade provide more detail about that.
Is it China?
Well, I don't think it matters where our exports go as long as they go somewhere.
Of which country is Beijing the capital?
I'm not going to speculate on which particular country it is.
It's China, though, isn't it?
That's one of many countries that it could be.
Which country is called China?
Well, different countries have different names, and I'm not concerned with what they call themselves. That's for those in the Canberra bubble to worry about.
Finally, it looks like Scott Morrison is really getting proactive in the handling of the coronavirus. It must be great to see him lift his game like this.
Oh, it's so enjoyable. I can't speak highly enough of him.
Well, thanks for your time, Brian.
Pleasure. Whatever that is.
Speaking of China, Caulfield Grammar, one of Australia's richest and most exclusive private schools, have a new $25 million aquatic centre, which they were going to name after former student Mac Horton. But because of his protest against Chinese swimmer Sun Yang, the school decided not to, as to protect their Chinese commercial interests. Although now they may still do that because Sun Yang has, of course, been banned for 8 years for doping. Anyway, this is just a setup before I get interrupted.
Shaun!
Oh, here we go. Yes, up the back there.
Shaun?
Yes?
I'm on the school council for my son's school appalling hall for boys. And we had a similar problem when we were trying to name our new parasailing, indoor yachting and hot yoga centre. We decided we'd just name it after the people who donated the most amount of money to the project.
Oh, yeah, so what did you end up calling it?
The Australian Taxpayers Parasailing, Indoor Yachting and Hot Yoga Centre.
Now, last week we all had a good laugh at our Deputy Prime Minister's expense, and it was a little unfair. If you didn't see it, we showed an unedited clip of him talking. But he's trying to work on his image lately, and this week he tweeted some banter between he and the PM about delivering some curry to the Shire of Bland. And, you know, and they joked about how the curry wasn't bland, and they said bland a couple of times, and we won't turn the sound up because it is awful. But it just goes to show the lengths Michael McCormack is prepared to go to be more popular than Barnaby Joyce. But if he's if he's worried about that media advisor to the Deputy PM, Biro Prance, these must be tough times to lead the National Party.
Oh, not at all, Shaun. We've got a wonderful and majestic team who are brilliant and great and who fully support and love Michael, always in the appropriate way. And everything is completely splendid, and Michael is superlative and has created this idyllic political nirvana that is today's National Party. And why wouldn't he, when things are fabulous and marvellous in our party and everyone is jubilant and elated with how excellent and beaut everything's going. And look, he's happy to take the mickey out of himself. The other day he was speaking at a function and someone called out, "Shut up, dickhead," and quick as a flash Michael said, "I hope he's not talking about me." And I think it's important to have a sense of humour, particularly during tough times, which these aren't, because everything is tremendous. And of course it's no surprise that when you've got a tremendous leader and a tremendous party that you get tremendous times. So the party is thrilled and exultant with Michael's leadership and his ability to take the mickey out of himself, like he did just yesterday when the person whose hand he was shaking said, "Who are you?" And Michael shot back as if you don't know, because you've got to be able to laugh at yourself, don't you? And in fact, I don't think we've ever had a leader who's been laughed at more than Michael. And that's saying something, and that something is how unified and cohesive and buoyant and in love with each other the National Party is. And that is down to nothing else but Michael's exceptional and bedazzling leadership. And look, Michael's happy to take the mickey out of himself, which is half his name, so it only leaves him with McCormack. But I think that's fantastic, and so is he. And so are all the other members of the coalition too. In fact, everyone on the planet is superb and mirthful and joyous, as are, I expect, all other forms of alien life beyond our galaxy in whatever physical form they take, which I'm sure is beautiful, gorgeous and very alluring.
Biro, it won't surprise you that we'll have to leave it there.
As with its eggs, the larva of this mosquito can reach temperatures of 1,000 degrees, a dangerous level for any mosquito's anus.
Shaun Micallef's insulated sphincter mosquitoes of Malaysia on ABC and iView.
Welcome back. Well, Australia is both the largest island continent on Earth and the driest continent on Earth, and all that could change, however, thanks to global warming. Pearl Vim-Hyphen has more.
Thanks, Shaun. In the not-too-distant future, drought-induced bushfires will be extinguished by rising sea levels, making Australia smaller and wetter. But how do we make what's left, the desert, somewhere we can live in the comfort we're used to? The federal government's commitment to renewable energy includes funding the part-time research of people like Craig Javello. Craig has no so-called official scientific qualifications, but says that common sense is all you need to solve climate change.
Behold! If all that's left are wind-swept desert plains, then we harness that wind and the drought-inducing powers of the unrelenting sun thanks to giant turbines made of solar panels, millions of them, all over every remaining square metre of the landmass. Not only will these babies generate enough power to run your household, but you can live and work there. So at the end of the day, you don't have to drive home because you're already there. Plus, any extra power will run the generator at night or when there isn't any breeze. And the wheels grind down grain while you sleep, so you have food.
So where do we grow the grain if all the available land is being used to house windmills?
Oh, fuck.
Greenhouse gases caused by the belching and farting of livestock are another contributor to global warming, according to the snowflake elites behind the climate change conspiracy. Tungi McCarport is teaching better manners to these cows.
Try not to bolt your grass, and if you must pass wind, always excuse yourself and go and use the chemical toilet, where the methane can be captured and stored underground.
All cattle who successfully complete Tungi's training will receive a special certificate presented at a debutante's ball at the local abattoirs. For others, climate change is more about managing our expectations than actually doing something.
Hello? Ray?
It's me again.
Incessant talkback caller Casper Jonquil applies lateral thinking to solving the crisis of rising sea levels.
Well, at first I thought the oceans could be vaporised by some sort of alien probe like the one in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, because all the whales had gone. But then I thought, no, what if we moved all our mining operations to the Marianas Trench to make the oceans deeper? Sea levels would drop and we could use all the extra dirt and on-sell it to the Chinese to build more of those fake islands.
Wouldn't that just displace the water and make sea levels rise again?
Well, that's why I'm desalinating the world's oceans to kill all the wildlife so there'll be more space. Whales are the biggest. Without them, sea levels would drop by 0.5 millimetre, exactly the same amount as my engorged penis, so it's easy for me to check.
But if all the whales are gone, wouldn't that alien probe from Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, vaporise all the oceans?
No, because we'll restock the world's oceans with all the freshwater fish that are dying because there's no water left in our river systems thanks to the failed Murray-Darling Basin plan.
Well, it seems you've thought of everything.
Back to you, Shaun.
Well, not coming up because black comedy's on in a minute.
The reality of a world without toilet paper. Iranian religious shrines licked clean of coronavirus by idiots. And I just want to live my life in anonymity, says Prince Harry.
And finally, kudos to the Herald Sun, who last week announced it had deliberately closed off comments on the Herald Sun AFLW stories due to commenters engaging in trolling, harassment and disgraceful commentary. Now all they have to do is deal with the stuff above the comments section. Goodbye.
God, baby.